Welcome to grass class today. We'll do a little bit of fall perennials, but it's ornamental grasses, one of my favorites for fall time. It feels like fall today, doesn't it, a little bit? A little chill in the air. It's nice after 90. I got back from Portland last night and it was like 98 degrees down there Wednesday and Thursday, so it was nice to get home. But everybody found the handout back there. We always got on the website if you need. If I go too fast, this will be on YouTube probably Monday. I probably won't get to editing it till Monday, but we'll have it up on our YouTube channel, so you can always go back and check some stuff too if you were going fast and furious and you forgot a couple things. I'll say my name's Trevor Cameron. I'm the general manager here. I do most of our classes, but we'll start keeping up here for fall. I got a lot of them on the schedule. We'll talk about it at the end, but there's some good ones coming up here for September as well. I want to thank the Everett Clinic. You can see Dr. Lola's there behind me. Does everyone know kind of what we do with the Everett Clinic? So it's not like I get money or Sunnyside gets money. I came to us a couple years ago and said, hey, we'd love to kind of help sponsor your classes. So you guys get gift cards today. I got 6 $50 gift cards. There'll be some questions at the end, so you better pay attention. And I'll just do it democratically. First hand I see go up, you get the first crack at it. So there'll be some questions at the end, and we'll give out some gift cards to use at the store here. Compliments to Everett Clinic. It's really nice of them. It's a great local business. I'm an Everett resident. I've been going to Everett Clinic since I was probably a little 2-year-old. So even my allergy shots back in the day. So there you go. So thank you. That's Dr. Lola. That's what we call Dr. Lola behind me. So Dr. Lola's hanging out looking over us all today. But we're going to focus on grasses first. I thought we'd kind of go through grasses, and I'll do a few perennials at the end. Grasses are perennials. We're not talking about annual grasses today. There's a lot of people that ask for, anyone know purple fountain grass? Annual. Use it in your pot. Beautiful plant. Gets pitched in the fall. You will not keep that through the winter. Probably the 2 grasses I'll mention that we do not stock around here, and a lot of people move up from California, which is great. Welcome to Washington. Or you might think they can grow here because the internet tells you they can, but Muhlenbergia, really pretty pink plumey flower. Everybody always sends me pictures on the email. Can you get me one of those? Yeah, and it'll die the first winter. And Lomandra is another one. They're really going firescaping with that. Northern California down south through the Sierras. It's a great drought tolerant, fireproof grass, but same thing. We are way too wet and just a little too chilly to grow some of those up here. So if you see it at Sunnyside, you're going to have luck with it in our local gardens here. So we'll stick with that. But grasses are always perennial. I mean, they're going to come back year after year. If we find a spot that they like, we plant them properly. This is a plant we're going to have for the long term. So this isn't just a quick little flash in the pan. They're really low maintenance. Grasses are a plant that I would expect you to put in and not have to mess with much. If you think of grass, I watch a lot of Discovery, Science Channel, all the above. You can burn it, flood it, destroy it, stomp it, eat it, and what happens? Oh look, here comes the grass again. It started raining 8 months later. So grasses are really resilient plants, really, when it comes down to it. The big thing for me, probably in our little microclimate here, is drainage. There's certainly some that can take a little more wet. I'll mention those. But typically the vast majority of stuff we're going to talk about today, as long as we've got good drainage, especially in the winter, no hard pan clay, we want that water going right through. You're really going to have to touch this thing hardly ever. If you've got good soil, good drainage, you're going to have a happy grass. Probably the biggest difference, we'll talk evergreen, deciduous, some different varieties here, but the biggest thing to me would be, do I want something that naturalizes, which is a really nice way. It's not invasive, I won't say that, but if it naturalizes, it kind of keeps giving you more. I put one in and it spreads by roots and it colonizes a patch. Or do I want just a clump? One single tidy specimen, like me, the OCD gardener. I like my clumps. I have some spreaders too, but I like little clumps here and there. It kind of makes a nice presentation. The biggest thing with me, and if my wife was here, she'd say the same thing, we love the sound, the motion, and the color. When I have grasses, I don't care if it's in March, it's in the summer, it's in the fall. I leave a lot of mine up for the winter. I hear the breeze, I see the motion. I think it adds a totally different design element to a lot of the gardens. So keep that in mind as you're picking them. I think it's a cool kind of texture plant, when it comes down to a little bit different. If you were kind of here today, we should say who came today to get more grasses? Probably everybody. And who came to learn about the ones they have? Got a few too, okay. So we'll kind of cover a little bit of both. But the biggest thing with me, you know, maybe ask yourself some questions, you know, before you go out shopping here after class. You know, how much sun or shade am I going to get? And that's the first question always with plants to me. Is it all day sun? Is it just morning? Is it filtered light? I mean, there's a good grass for all those locations, but really look at your sun. I hear it every day here helping customers. How much sun do you get? Oh, you know, half day. Well, when is that? You know, because it makes a huge difference if we're talking morning versus that hot part of the afternoon, especially here in the summer months. So, so watch your sun and we get the right thing. You know, do you want evergreen, something that has some presence year round, or do I want something that's perennial? Do I want to see some color change in the fall, some plumage, you know, we'll call it, the blooms come up? Do I want to see some seasonality to it, or do I want something evergreen? There's both choices for both. I think there's room for both in everybody's landscape. I use both in mine, but typically our evergreen stuff's going to be much smaller and clumpy for the most part. Our taller specimen grasses are going to be a lot of the perennial type ones. And then with that, it's you know, specimen. You know, I have, you know, we always do a little landscape design. You know, and am I looking for one single large impressive specimen? Do I want a group of 3? Am I looking to put a swath in? Does anyone live in Everett here? Close to the new Y? You know, the new Y? Yeah. So that's 2 blocks up from my house right there, and I walk by every day because do you see the Carl Foresters, a feather reedgrass they put in? There's got to be like 400 of them in different pockets around that building, and because it's massed together, it makes a beautiful presentation in the landscape, and they have some minimal maintenance with it as well. So kind of think of that. Is it just, well, I just like one because I want a big specimen, or do I want a little triangle of 3, or do I need a row or a swath? I think that's a good question to ask as well. You know, I'm always trying to find that layered look. So as we look at different things, and there's dwarfs and tall ones and most of these, do I want something? I have grasses that are, I'm 6'3", that my zebra grass will reach 8 or 9 feet by the end of the summer. That's a big grass. I may not be for everybody. 6 foot's plenty with me. 4 foot's plenty with me. We can find the right height, then we get the right layer in the garden. We don't have to necessarily have it at the back. We can have something on the border that way as well. You'll see by the colors up here, you know, a little bit of everything. Variegation, bright yellows, oranges, blues, greens, you name it. There's a grass with probably the color that you would like as well. And just keep in mind, you know, everyone always comes in here wanting everything evergreen, but I think you're going to find the perennial ones are going to give you the color, the superior flower, the plume in the fall, and give you that nice seasonality. If we talk just a minute kind of on how to grow them, you know, just like any plant, if I take one of these home today, I'm going to try to dig a nice sized hole in my yard, twice as wide, twice as deep as that pot, get some compost, mix that in. I've always kind of stuck with the 1/3 amendment, like compost, to 2/3 of my native soil, get that all mixed in for my backfill. I'll mulch it. I will throw some food always on something newly planted or something newly transplanted. We have Sure Start, we got great organic options in there for fertilizer. You know, and I would never say don't think you have to feed your grass, because you certainly can, but I don't think you have to be honest with you. I mean, it's not a plant that I run around 5 times a year and say, ooh, I got to give you some more fertilizer. If you've got healthy soil, you water a little bit, it's in the right spot, you're going to have a nice grass. You're not going to have to worry about pumping a bunch of fertilizer on it all the time. If you were going to, maybe it's just once a year, you know, kind of coming out of winter, that first part of March, maybe you can walk out, throw a little bit of rose and flower food, tree shrub, doesn't really matter what it is, it's just some nitrogen to kind of get it kicking. But it shouldn't be a plant you should need a lot of fertilizer with. You know, if you're going to talk pruning, and this is a huge one today, I think, for this class, because I think a lot of people that have grasses probably, don't prune them at the right time, and don't prune them back right. And I'll warn you, these are some of the questions for those gift cards afterwards, so pay attention to the answers here, because that might get you a $50 gift card. So if I've got a perennial grass, right now, still growing, I'm just starting to plume on a lot of my tall ones, I'm still 2 months, 3 months almost away from like, okay, you're done for the year. Now I have a choice as a gardener. Do I want to leave mine for the structure? It goes brown, it's got some motion in the winter, it looks nice with frost on it. I don't have a problem leaving it all winter or cutting it back. So I can go out, say, Thanksgiving, mid-late November. If I want to cut them back, be done with it, put it in the yard away, sweet, I got to head for spring. If I want the texture in the winter, I have to get that cut back by 1st of March. So if you don't do it this fall, make sure you go out and get those perennial ones cut back early next year. If we forget, we have some snowbirders. I'll join you here one of these days that go down and play golf in the sunshine in the winter. If you go down and you don't come back till April, then cut them back before you go, because you're going to come back and you're going to have new green coming up with all the old dead, and you're going to have a really hard time cleaning that plant up for the season. The harder one to me is the evergreen, and I wouldn't say that you have to do it every year. I use a number of these in my yard, and I'm probably like every 3 years I'll say, okay, that's enough, let's start you over again. I never ever want to cut evergreen ones back till we warm up in spring. So I would put down, you know, sometime early mid-April. That's when I would go down and cut. You know, you almost pick it up. If I grab one here, this is an evergreen. If I had hair, we'll pick it up here, right, and prune it. So if I pick this up, you know, kind of like a big clump of hair, and I lop this off, you know, 3-4 inches above the ground, throw it away and let it start over again. I'm honestly just telling that plant, let's just start over again. This is never going to fix my problem. Typically coming out of winter here, I've got a brown patch here and one here. Scissor cutting it is not going to solve your problem. If you're going to start it over, start it over. And if you do that, absolutely throw some fertilizer on it. That'll get you quicker. So make sure that'll be my tip. Wait till mid-April. If you're going to bite the bullet and start it over again, get some food on it. That'll help it recover a little quicker as well. Okay. The perennial one's really easy. If I pick any one of these, let's take a pennisetum here. You know, this is just starting to plume. You know, I could cut this down just off the soil level. I just want to cut that off about 1 or 2 inches off the ground, clean up the debris, throw it in the yard waste. I'm done. Next year, here we come off the root system. It gets a little bit bigger, a little wider, and off we go for another season. Okay. It's really as easy as that. So just remember, perennial, I could hit in the fall after I'm happy with my plume display, you know, in the color. Thanksgiving, Christmas, otherwise I'm out there by 1st of March and I'm getting it cut back before we head into the season.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
On the, I can never pronounce it, the Hakano.
Yep. Hakanakloa, the Japanese forest
so
grass.
mine are huge.
Yep.
So then I usually prune mine like in March. I just
Yep.
go out there like with my hand.
Yep.
Is that something I should be doing in the fall?
You could do it either or. Your Hakanakloa might be a little woodier than mine. Usually mine, after one good hard frost, just kind of melts to the ground. I usually just grab a rake and just clean it up. Yeah, you can do it either way.
Okay.
All right. So the same thing with the pruning time. If we're going to divide or transplant grasses, I'll be transplanting a couple of mine this winter. I'll tell you now, I've already marked 2 that I want to divide and move to some back areas. Or you have an existing one, you're Hakanakloa, that I want to chop up and put some new divisions in. Really easy to divide grasses, but I want to do that during the dormant season. So if I'm out there again, Thanksgiving, Christmas, January, February, probably up into that early part of March, with most plants, easy to take a nice sharp shovel like a root slayer or a good spade, chop that clump in half, give some to the neighbor, give some to a friend, put it in a new area. Really, really easy to divide grasses as a general rule. Always get that new spot set up just like you were putting the new one in. Compost, some Sure Start, some fertilizer again to get those roots reestablished. And then off we go for the season. Yeah, really, really easy to do. One thing I'll say, a lot of these plants are going to say drought tolerant on them. That's a great thing with the way the world's going with water. But drought tolerant doesn't mean you take that grass home, pop it in the ground, and walk away forever. It means I'm going to monitor it a season, 2 seasons down the road. Yes, I can walk away from a lot of the drought tolerant stuff. So I've had some in my own yard that I watered regularly for a summer or 2, and then down the road, I don't think there's one, my blue stem, I didn't even touch this summer, and he's happy as can be with the way the heat's going. So we can always do that. I'm going to show you a bunch of plants here, but again, you know, look at the options, because a lot of these plants, something might catch your eye, you know, like a Carex, and you're like, well, I hate yellow, but I like orange. There's options for all these, and I didn't even bring in probably a fraction of what we have out there. So look at colors, variegation, the plume might be a little different on some, and heights are going to be huge. If I look at a plant like Miscanthus, the maiden grasses we'll show a few of, you know, again, I have some of my own yard, 9 foot, 6 foot, and 3 foot. So you can pick your height. There's going to be a huge variation depending on the specific variety that you pick. The other thing, like in 2 weeks, I'll be doing a container class. I'd really recommend, especially some of the evergreen ones, short, tidy ones, great in containers. If you do container gardening, it's a great way to add, again, texture, motion, color, some winter interest in that pot by the door. As you're getting kind of tired of the summer geraniums and petunias and all that gets replaced here in fall, we freshen up the pots going through the winter months. The grass is going to give me a good hardy staple plant that I can enjoy the color, again, the texture and all that without having to start brand new. If you're like me and I have way too many pots and I buy grasses for most all of them, sweet, it's in the pot for a couple years, looks great, then I can take it out 2 winters from now when I redo that pot and go put it in my yard. You know, I don't have to just throw it in the compost heap in the sky. You know, I can kind of recycle things around the yard that way too, okay? So I'm going to show you quite a few here. We'll go fast and furious. See if I can still, I'm going to try to follow the handout so we don't get confused. Is that a deal? So if I start there alphabetical, we'll go through, start with the A, the Acorus. I should have put them in alphabetical so I can find them all, right? So this is a plant called Sweet Flag. This is a really easy little evergreen, okay? Short. This one spreads. It's not a clumper. This is one that if I put in every year, I'm going to get a little wider, a little bigger. It's not crazy invasive by any means. It's a plant native to Japan. I've seen it in water gardens, even bog gardens. This is one that will take some wet. I've got a lot of people with a little wet border. Maybe it doesn't drain well. They like yellow. You can also find a white variegated one. If I wanted a real easy little short evergreen grass, maybe Sweet Flag might be a little option for you. This is a golden one we call Ogon. That's usually the one that we grow, have here for sale, is the variety Ogon.
Is that fussy about soil?
If it's got to be on the wet side, would be my thing. If it's really well drained soil or dries out, it's going to let you know pretty quick in the summer months up here.
Got
Yeah.
a spot that's really wet in the winter, and in the summer it's really dry.
See, if
Would
you,
it survive there?
it would be fine, but you'd have to irrigate it in the summertime a little bit. Yeah, have to water in the summertime a little bit. If we go, there's a nice short one. We'll go alphabetical, so we'll go all over the place. But we were talking about this beauty before. This will be my next purchase. I saw some of these when I was down touring last week, some new varieties coming out. But this is Andropogon, what we call big blue stem. So this is kind of one of those, I think, a really pretty plume. Comes out a little earlier than most. These are already starting to bloom here late August. It's a pretty flower. I love the color. You know, some of the grasses up here don't start to turn reds and oranges here for another month or 6 weeks. You got this one in August, which is the reason I'd get it. This is a big boy here. This is not one we're going to keep in a little spot in our garden. I'm looking for a specimen. This will reach up there 6, 7, 8 feet when we get established. Nice, big, huge, thick clump type. Super drought tolerant, and one I think worth a try. There's a lot of breeding going on with this plant. As much for up here as a lot of people again in California right now, because this is one of those xeriscaping things. It's native. They don't have to water much. It's a great lawn substitute. People are trying to get rid of their lawn down there. And plant landscape, this is one we would not have to irrigate much at all.
Does it stay in a clump? And
Big clump. This is going to run. I mean,
How
my
big
clump
around?
every year is going to get big. I mean, you're looking at something established down the road, probably 3 or 4 feet across and 8 foot tall. And again, that's enough. Sweet. Cleave it into quarters. Move it around. Really easy one to divide too.
What kind of sun?
Full sun. Yeah, this is not one we're going to put in shade by any means. I should tell you the variety. I think this is Black Hawk. Let's see which one this is. This one's called Carl's Cousin. I would have never guessed that. But there's black. We get Black Hawks. There's a few. They're all going to tend towards that purple, burgundy, really dark foliage, which is kind of a little bit different up here. Butellia is a really fun one. Well, that's the fun seed. So we had a place in Cleveland for years, and I was laughing. This came out probably 5, 6 years ago. It started to become asked for. The growers started growing it. This is a thing I looked at in seed like 20 years ago for my pasture, because this is super drought tolerant. This is one clumpy. You can mow it if you want it. Of course, if you mow it, you don't get all these pretty little flags on it. But this they call Blonde Ambition. These end up turning the kind of little blondie hair colors, but really different seed head on that. That's a fun little plant. Yeah.
Hey, do you know if that's like pet safe?
Pet safe, yeah, pet safe fine. Yeah, I don't think there's any issues with any of the grasses, except for Mondo grass. We'll be careful with that one, but everything else should be fine. But grama grass is one, again, you know, I always kind of half jokingly call it nursery disease. Plants get a little tired in pots late summer, so there's nothing wrong with that. You're buying something, because this will be perennial. It'll go dormant. But this is a pretty tidy plant and yard. I've seen some nice ones in landscapes where very tight, compact, clumping habit again. And again, one that blooms a little bit earlier than some of the others. If I'm looking for that, you know, late July, August, excuse me, late July, August kind of plumes coming out, and then we start to turn kind of the yellow straw color here as we get frost in the fall. Zip that one off. Again, we'll see you again next year.
Do the seeds have a tendency to spread?
They don't. They'll disperse a little bit, but I haven't had much issues with that popping up all over the place. Yeah, pretty easy. Calamagrostis is the feather reed grass. I thought I brought two of them up here. Maybe I'm blind here. Oh, there we go. So feather reed grass is a little more manageable size. These were started a little later. They're already in plume right now. If you've got feather reed grass, they would have the beautiful brown seed heads already up about 3 foot tall. These were started a little later, so we had some fresh stuff for fall. But we've got green like Carl Forster, or you've got a number of different variegated ones. I think this is El Dorado. I've got one in my yard's more white on green called Avalanche. There's Overdam. There's a new one called Lightning that's really pretty. But if maybe I like green, sweet, buy the Carl. Maybe I want a little foliage interest and I look for a cool variegated variety. But feather reed would love some sun. It doesn't get super big. Typically I'm gonna be more like in the 2.5 foot tall of foliage, and then have my seed head on top of that. So I think the Carl's at the Y in full bloom right now. You're right about chest level or so, about 3.5, 4 feet when they're in full flower. It's not super wide. Again, not an invasive one. This is going to be a clumper. I would say that is the good candidate. Like we mentioned earlier, I'm probably not going to get one Carl Forster, maybe in a pot or something, and using it for that. I'm probably going to get 3 or 5 and make a nice little presentation with a few of them that way. Carex, there's a whole bunch. You know, I could have brought in a bazillion Carex, and there are some perennial type Carex. So I don't want you to think they're all evergreen, but if I start plucking these out of here, this is all stuff that would keep its foliage all through the winter months. Okay, so these are the ones we use in pots or the landscape for year-round foliage. That's probably my #1 plant of grass for me. I love orange. It's a bright color. Only gets about 1 foot tall. This is New Zealand sedge or orange sedge. I have every pot I think I've ever done has that included in it somewhere, that I can again move out into my yard as the seasons go by. If we get a bad winter, this one sometimes might brown out a little bit. We do the April thing with evergreen, we cut it back, and then off it comes again and we start over. So something like orange sedge might be a nice one to consider. This always makes me laugh. My wife calls these leather sedge or cowboy sedge, but it kind of looks a little different color, right? Look, is that alive or is that dead? But that's exactly what it's supposed to do. This is the trendy one called cappuccino, the perfect color. But there's a number of different Carex that will have, again, they're evergreen. This is the color. There's nothing wrong with them, but I'm going to have that structure, just a little bit more height, maybe foot and a half, but easy little clumping evergreen to grow.
Question: the orange sedge that you showed, can it tolerate moist?
I wouldn't do super wet. That one probably a little bit on the dry side. These ones we could have a little bit of moist with, yeah. So these are your lower sedges, and I could have brought 8 different varieties of these we carry in, but just to kind of show you some different colors. I think this is, I'll tell you which one so we're on the same. This is Eversheen, I think. Yes, Eversheen. So this would give me the bright yellow band on green. Again, evergreen. What am I going to do? If I'm going to cut it back, I'm going to pick it up in spring and April. I'm going to chop it off, let it start over again, throw a little food on it. So Eversheen. This is Everillo, which is one I have. I love yellow. Who likes yellow? I love yellow, so I get all the yellow I can. This is one I would do in some shade. This is a great choice for evergreen shade. I've got 3 big clumps of this I got years ago in my own garden. I hardly even see them spring, summer, fall. Everything loses its leaves, perennials get cut back, and now you look out in the yard and you're like, oh wow, look at that. He's got glowing lime green, yellow clumps of grass that were underneath all that during the growing season. So that's another one This will be their 3rd year, the last ones I put in, so this is what'll happen in April. Pick them up, chop them off, and then we'll let them start over again next year. And then we've got something like Feather Falls. This is one I use a lot in pots, but it would be great in a container as well. I like this because the blades get a little longer, and you can see I put this in a container. It's almost going to serve as my spiller, you know, something that I'm not going to have to worry about in the winter time. That's going to give me great color, texture, motion, all that, but also hang over the edge of the pot a little bit and soften it. This one's called Feather Falls. Yeah, that's a great one. We got a bunch of those in too. If we look at sea oats, there's another one. There's one. So this is Chasmanthum or northern sea oats. We would find this like upper Midwest. This will take some wet. There's a good wet one for you. And this will also take some shade. I think it does a little better in half-day sun, half-day shade than it does in full sun, because it does like a little water. I've got a few different clumps of this. I wish this was blooming now. You can come look at the tag. It's got, I think, one of the prettiest seed heads. They call it the sea oats because it looks like I got little bright reddish purple dangles of oats hanging on that in the fall. It's a really pretty seed head, I think, on that one. But this kind of lime green, nice clumpy again. I mean, I've had one probably 15 years going underneath Japanese maple and a little rockery just because I wanted some grassy texture. It's shade. I get about 3 hours of sun at the end of the day, and he's happy as can be underneath there. I get the lime color I want, the texture I want, the motion I want, and I'll get the pretty little seed head here in the fall as well. This is pretty short, maybe 2 feet at the most. That's a pretty short one. Yeah. So that's Chasmanthum. See if I can stay on task here. Who likes pampas grass? Got some feather dusters in here? There it is. It's probably one of the tall ones. We'll get some more into. We usually get some sort of dwarf variety of pampas grass, which makes me laugh because dwarf pampas grass is bigger than me. It's big enough for you. Trust me, you don't want regular pampas grass. And then we also get some pink in too. It's not, don't look online, say, ooh, pink's my favorite color. You'll see some photoshopped pictures online that's like, ooh, wow, that is really dark pink flower. It's not that dark. It's just barely a little tiny hint of pink comes out in the plume. Pampas grass is a big old beast. I'm not gonna lie to you. If you've seen some pampas grass around, this can be a big plant. There's a couple across the street at the neighbor's house. I think he gets the chainsaw out to cut it back at some point. We get bad winters. These I think, look a little rough. Don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. This would not be one of my favorite grasses. I think they find spots in the landscape, but I'd rather see this out, you know, hiding a fence, roadside, you know, some big impressive grass that maybe is not in the garden. They do get probably the prettiest plume of any of the grasses. I mean, they look like a big old-fashioned feather duster. That's a really pretty one in flower, but be real careful where you put it and how much room you give it, because these will take up some real estate.
My dad used to burn ours every year.
Probably came back, see? There it goes, comes right back.
They did.
Deschampsia, I'll show you real quick if I can find, where'd you go? There it is. So Deschampsia is a little tufted northern grass. Again, really pretty colors. Look at all the colors coming out in that. I'm starting to get a little soft pink in there. I've got variegation. Nice little short one. Cute little seed head on there. This is another one here. I've seen great in pots, but if I'm looking at this where I had it in my yard, I'm getting a few. You know, I don't just want one. It's going to kind of get lost a little bit, but if I had 3 or 5, it would make a nice little presentation in the landscape. Because that's a fun little plant, you know, not super overpowering, nice and tidy, again, clumping, non-invasive, so that'd be an easy one to grow too.
And the sunshade?
That one you could have sun or part shade. Yeah, it'll tell you on the list there too. Festuca. So if I take, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna break my rule and I'm gonna grab 2. If I take Festuca and oat grass, which we're just skipping hacking a clover for a second. So if I put those 2 up there, now I get into my what? Steely blue color. You know, I'm gonna have some blue. These are both evergreen. These are both extremely drought tolerant. This is the kind of stuff I walked away from in Cle Elum, different areas where you have heat, don't want to water much. This is native over eastern Idaho, you know, native over eastern Washington. These are plants that won't need a lot of care. If you've got hot, you've got dry, you don't want to water much, these are really easy to grow. Fescue, short. Evergreen, this is only going to get a little clump, not even a foot tall usually, a little bit wider, gets a pretty little seed head on it. But I'd put that out in the hottest, driest spot in your yard and let it thrive. It's a really cool color, nice texture if you've got somewhere hot and dry.
What do you do with it when it starts to get looking damp?
Brown. It's an easy one again. It doesn't change being evergreen. It's still an easy thing to cut back. I moved my parking pad, so I had a swath of those around where I parked my truck for years. I had to take them out and I haven't put any back in yet. But if they ever looked ratty coming out of winter, I got the hedge clippers out and just mowed those things down just like you were mowing your lawn. It's still a fescue.
Half blue and half green.
It reverted back.
Yeah.
Try to chop that green part out of there, see if you can get it out of there. But if I could cut those back down to the nubs
So
and
is that what you should do in the winter then, is cut them down?
not in the winter. What do we talk about evergreen? We're going to do that in April. Yeah, after we're coming out of winter.
Very neat.
And then oat grass, if I like that same color but a little bit more height, this will give me something maybe 2 foot tall. So if I want that steely blue with just a little bit more presence to it, the blue oat grass would be a great choice too. But both those at the top of the drought tolerant list. That would be an easy one for minimal water. So hacking a clow is one of my favorites. We've had a few of us in here already talking about them. This is Japanese forest grass. I think most gardeners have discovered it. We have a lot of shade around here, and we got a lot of moisture around here usually. These are really easy grasses to grow. I mean, I don't have a lot of height. You know, maybe this gets mature. I get about that tall, and I kind of get that little weep to it as it grows. But it starts as a clump and then spreads by root system. So this is one underneath Japanese maples and shade in my yard. Other areas I put a few in years ago. I just have a carpet of yellow grass now underneath there, just like it would be grown native in Japan. Turn pretty red in the fall. Let them kind of go brittle and turn to mush. You just rake them up. See you again next year, and they come right up. Really easy plant to divide. Really easy plant to move around. You know, I'd get a few. You know, if you're trying to naturalize an area, you don't need to buy 20 of them. You know, maybe get 5, and have some patience. They'll fill in. You get 5 plants in a big area, that'll fill that whole area in with this grass down at some point. The biggest thing with hacking a clow is the color. So this is the old-fashioned Oriola. You can see that's got striping on the blades. So I would get a little pinky with red, kind of two-tone fall color here in another month or two. We have all gold if I want that just pure yellow lime color. Or we have some green ones. This is Benikaze. If I don't like yellow, I get green, and these probably turn the brightest red. So if I want green and I want red fall color, I'm probably looking to get old-fashioned Benikaze, which would be like fire engine burning bush color here for the fall down the road.
And drainage on those?
You have to have some decent drainage, but it's not as important as some of the other stuff I've talked about. I mean, I don't have super incredible soil where I'm at in Everett, and mine, that's one of the first things I put in 20 plus years ago. They're really easy to grow. So look at that for naturalizing, you know, borders, anywhere shade underneath trees. It makes a great grass, I think, for a lot of homeowners. That's a really easy one to do. There's a new one I just saw at the show I was at this week called Lemon Zest that we'll have in for 2023, and it's a different color. I had to stare at it for a while, like, wow, that is really different. It's not really lime. It's not the other colors. It's like, that's just a different color. Yeah, it looked really cool. If I grab, there it is. So anybody got blood grouse? You got lots of blood grouse then, right? You know, I'm always honest. If you come to my classes, you know, this is probably one of the more unique ones up here. I am never going to get this color, and it'll go red here on any other grass that stays short. I mean, this is a little different creature, but this is one that'll take some wet again. If I put one of these in, this is one that will naturalize pretty quickly. So if I have wet, decent soil, you're going to have a large patch of this at some point. I mean, it's easy to go out every spring and take some edges off it and keep it contained. But if I pop this in, I tell a lot of gardeners, you know, find a little pocket in a rockery or, you know, somewhere where it kind of can keep it confined. If you walk away from this for years, it'll take over whatever you got in your yard. So
what about sun on that?
This is one week. If we got moist ground, we can have full sun. I would not go too much shade on this. I think you'll lose the color. So we could have this in pretty much all day sun would be preferable, or half day sun. It's not super tall. I mean, this is on grower fertilizer. I would say in most yards, just a little shorter than that here as we get towards the peak of the season. This does turn brown, you know, bright red, burning bush, goes dormant for the winter, and then we just chop it off and we'll see you again next year kind of thing. So this is one you may not have to buy 3 or 5 of them. You can if you like, but you'll probably buy one of them and it'll make you happy in a couple years. You'll get some extras. One plant I brought in here because it's grassy, but it's not really a grass, but I always talk about liriope, liriope. You can call this 8 different names. Anyone have lily turf? So it looks grassy. It's a little different plant, but we always do this with the grasses because I think it's the same kind of principles. You know, this is something evergreen. If I'm going to cut it back, I can do that in spring, just like evergreen grasses. This one does get an actual cool flower on it. I can do whites, blues, purples, variegated green. We got a bunch of different ones down there. This is a plant I think's very useful in the garden. I think it's gaining more ground up here. It was traditionally a huge thing in the southeast. You know, if we were down Carolinas, Georgia, this is something they'd landscape their whole yard with as ground cover. I mean, this is something I've seen some people, put along the edge of pathways. Makes a nice little pathway divider. It's a clumper that will spread a little bit with new clumps, but it's very manageable and containable for size. So if you like the bright foliage, I think this is silvery sunproof. We've got big blue down there. We can order in white. We've got a lot of people asking for liriope or lily turf. We were able to get pretty much any color you like these days. So there's that one. I haven't tripped yet one of these times. Miscanthus is a big one. Let me check. So we got plenty of time. Miscanthus is a big one. That's one I've got quite a few in my own yard. But probably out of all the ones up here, I brought the most plants in to show, and you've got the most variation from dwarf up to 9 foot. I mean, there is a huge variation of miscanthus, or the maiden grasses. I'm going to show you a few to kind of give you a feel, but there's some great varieties out there. I didn't bring all of them in that we carry. We would have had them. We could probably have a miscanthus class without anything else. If we kind of start with big, I mentioned zebra grass, which we have. Mine reaches 9 foot. It's got a yellow horizontal band on the blades. It's a beautiful plant. The stalks and the plumes are so tall here in October that I typically cut those off for me in my own yard. My wife drew time up with twine. That's our corn stalks, for the front porch for Halloween trick-or-treaters and all that. I mean, it's a big plant. I have this exact one in 3 different places in my yard too. This is cabaret, or old variegated Japanese silvergrass. Just a little shorter. Mine will reach about me, 6 foot tall. The plume's got a little bit more pink in it, which is nice. But again, another impressive, specimen style miscanthus. If you're looking for a big giant grass to kind of get in the back of a garden, that's another great choice if you like the variegation. There's all kinds of other choices out there besides those, but there's a couple tall ones. If I want to go down maybe like chest level, something more like 3 or 4 feet tall, a little bit more manageable, then I look at some of the dwarfish ones. This is a great one. It looks almost silver when you look at the texture. It's a little thinner blade. This one's called Morning Light. That's another great variety. I see a lot of these around in gardens now. 3 or 4 feet tall is all. A little bit more manageable in size.
Sun?
All these would be pure sun. Yeah, miscanthus, or I should have said, we're going pure sun on miscanthus, or half day again's fine. This is the miniature version of the zebra. So is this little zebra or gold bar? They're both the same. Yeah, they put gold bar on this one, but those two you almost can't tell apart. So that's a cute little plant. I mean, that's got some cool character, much shorter structure. Not even a third the size of my gigantic zebra grass I got at my place. But we've got a really nice selection of those out there.
You prune it the same way, or do you just leave that?
Same thing, perennials. So if I was in my yard, I'll be honest with mine, I cut probably half of mine back in November, December, because I like tidy. I leave some intentionally because I want to drive home in the middle of January and go, oh, look at that. I got my big tall zebra grass is still swaying in the wind back there behind the garden. So you can do it either way, but at some point, Thanksgiving again to that first part of March. Yeah, you cut them back and start over. All the miscanthus will be perennial.
How tall does that zebra grass?
Just about 2 feet, maybe 3 at the most. And then you'd be, a lot of these new ones the last couple years, and I brought this because A, they tend to turn color a little earlier. I'm already starting to see the reds come in on that, if you can see that. This is Little Miss. It's a perfect name for Little Miscanthus. So this is, again, same plume, same impressive structure as the rest of the maiden grasses, but now I've got a 3-foot tall plant. You know, I don't have to deal with 6 foot, 8 foot, 9 foot like the one I have in my yard. You can get a little tidier plant, but still have that same effect. So these, again, all clump. You know, if I planted that Little Miss and we fast forwarded 5 years, I would have a beautiful wide plant that almost weeps back down to the ground on the outside. It would make a really nice grass, but something more manageable in height. I go to the big ones, you know, I'm up there as big as me or bigger, and the same kind of effect, that big fountain thing. I'll tie a couple of my huge ones up sometimes if we get a real wet fall, which happens up here a little more than we probably like. But I'll sometimes get, you won't even see it, but I'll get a big old lodgepole stake down the middle of that thing, and I'll just kind of carefully contain it a little bit so it still looks like it's not tied up and constricted, but it's not flopping on my other plants that are in front of it is usually what I'm worried about, okay? So lots of cool miscanthus. That's one. I bet you there's probably 10 kinds out there right now. We continue to keep getting those in. That's one of the more bigger groups. Molina, we'll do a few more here and cut you loose. So this is moor grass. This one's a little tired in the pot, but there's nothing wrong with him. You can see a cute little seed head, nice variegated foliage. This is another one, a little bit of wet's fine with moor grass. The nice landscapes I visited with these in them, again, it's not one, it's, you know, dotted down the edge of a walkway or a nice little patch of them included on the border in a nice sunny garden. This is one we could have sun or part shade. I wouldn't go too much shade on the moor grass. That's another perennial one. Mondo grass. Who's got Mondo grass? Mondo, that's a fun one to say. I like Mondo grass. So I brought a couple here just to show you kind of the difference. Now, I have a lot of this. Anyone? No, I shouldn't say. Anybody needs some? Come by. I'll grab you some. I put a few in, and I love this plant because it's a ground cover. I mean, it just keeps weeds out. I've got 2 patches now in my shade garden. This is great for shade, not so much for sun. I never have had a weed in 5 years, which is nice to walk out and just always see like, oh, it looks great. I don't have to do anything to it. It gets a pretty flower, little purpley kind of orchidy flower. I wish they had berries on them now. You can see there's a couple left on that variegated, but it gets a pretty little berry on it too. The berries are poisonous, I'll warn you. When my boys were that tall, I was like, we're not coming near those, and I ended up going out and picking them off for a couple years when my second one was a little young.
Is that the same issue with pets? You said something earlier about
Well, again, if you've got a poocher that likes to nibble on, yeah, I would worry about that. It's really easy to, I mean, you could walk along, enjoy the flower. I think it took me 5 minutes every year. I just walk out there and just pull all the flower stalks off, and I don't have any berries, and it doesn't matter. Make it easy. But this is one, again, you know, it's a little hard to propagate. It's not hard to grow at all. I mean, you plant these in, if you have it, you know what I mean. They'll naturalize really easily if we've got happy soil. But they're kind of spendy to buy. You know, this is a plant. We do this size because that's bigger than anything I can buy in a gallon. I think gallons are up over $20 now for a gallon of 1 gallon pot of black mondo grass. So we buy them in quarts, which is a great value, I think. You know, again, if I'm trying to naturalize a little ground cover for shade or morning sun, maybe I buy 3 or 5 is plenty. Spread them out 18 inches, 2 feet apart. Let them grow together. Give them a little bit of time. They'll fill that whole area. But I put 3 of these in, and I've probably got a 15-foot circle of this now off my patio underneath conifers and other plants. It looks beautiful. I never have to touch it anymore, which is what I wanted. But really easy plant to grow. So that's black mondo, just plain old nigrescens, the dark one. Some of the fun ones, forget, this one's so new. What was the name? Oh, I didn't even put it. Edge of the Night, which is a great name. So that's got light variegation, which is real pretty. And if this was out when I got mine, I might have try a patch of that too instead of all black. But that's got some pretty foliage. Same growth habit, nothing changes, but now I just add that little bit of edge color to it. And the one we just found, which I'll probably have to try in my yard now, is this little variegated one called Pam Harper. That's a beautiful little plant. Just if we finally got some little seed starters of these in. This is one I think you'll see more in 2023. But same thing, little clump, evergreen, little root trails, another mound pops up, and before you know it, I've got a nice colony of it to use as a ground cover.
And so no issue with planting any of these right now?
Not at all, yeah. I mean, again, we're going to mulch, we're going to water it. You know, we'll probably have another, I think we're going to have a nice September, if you want mine. I'm knocking on wood if I had any here, but just watch the water rest of the summer. You're fine to plant, absolutely. Yeah. Couple left here. So panicum is switchgrass. And I'll be honest, if I went back probably 25 years, that was my first grass addiction. I like switchgrass. That's one I put out on my city bank, you know, where I kind of neighbor an alley and nobody ever does anything to it, and the city's not going to do anything to it. Sweet, put some prairie grass out there, it'll fend for itself. If I drove across the Midwest, I would see switchgrass all over the place. Kansas, Dakotas, anywhere it's hot, it's dry, and it doesn't get a lot of water. So great drought tolerant. I think man's done a pretty good job breeding switchgrass, because it's not what you'd see in the prairie, but specific colors, and now earlier fall color is the big one. So I think is this hot rod? Yeah. So I can see right now in August, I'm already starting to get my purples and reds in. I've already got a nice seed head starting on it, but these are manageable. You know, sometimes miscanthus is like, that's too much for me. I don't want a 6 foot tall grass. Give me something like waist level. You know, now I'm down there in the stuff that's like 3 foot tall. You know, much manageable, clumpy grass. Drought tolerant, perennial, easy to grow. As long as I've got good drainage, then I'm gonna get nice late summer color off this, to be honest. That's the reason I like to switch grasses. A little bit of fall color, a little bit earlier. So that's hot rod. Then you can see another one. God, they're getting terrible names now. Here's a new one called Blood Brothers. So not quite. I've got my seeds coming out. Now in the next coming weeks is when I'm gonna start to see the reds, the orange, the purples, and start to come in with the color as well. But you'll see quite a few out there. Back in the day, it was, I think, heavy metal. What was the other one? There was two way back in the day. It was like, well, I gotta have those, and that's what we started with. And now you got all kinds of options on those too. Probably of all the grasses up here, if I took a vote, probably everybody's gonna go, that's got the prettiest bloom of anything up here, right? The pennisedums. And I brought quite a few of those up because if I'm probably looking more for plume, I want an interesting flower, the plumage that comes up, I'm gonna probably gravitate towards a lot of those pennisedums. This is we talked at the beginning of class about some annual grasses like purple fountain grass, right? You buy that dark purple blade, it gets that beautiful rose colored little seed head all summer through the fall, but it's an annual. This is your hardy versions of pennisedum that we can grow up here really easily. So all great for sun, all good drought tolerance. And this is another one, a lot of new varieties coming down the pipeline here the last few years, and they'll keep coming. So if I look at, is this Hamelin? Yeah, so this is an old school one called Hamelin. Beautiful green color. You can see in August, I'm already in full plume. You know, I've got my plumes up there, a little interesting going all the way through the fall now as this starts to turn color. So much shorter habit, much more manageable size, still clumpy, you know, not going to get too crazy for invasive, but if I'm looking for hot and dry and you like the seed heads and the plumes on those, that's a great choice, I think. So we've got something like Hamelin. This little bunny. There's Little Bunny, even shorter. I'll tell you, the little bunnies that live in my neighborhood in Everett like my little bunny fountain grass. They eat it all the time for me. So Little Bunny's a great little one. I thought this was outstanding. This came out a couple years ago called Burgundy Bunny. So again, if I look at that, you can see just starting to get that seed head, same one as that, but now I add in a little bit of color as well and a nice little short clumpy grass. So I think that's a really pretty plant.
How tall will that one get?
Same thing, just a short, maybe foot and a half of foliage. And then this is another one. Where's my other? There he is. This one's just fun to say. Ginger Love. That's just a great one to say. So that one, probably of all of them we carry, I think it's got the most impressive plume of any of the grasses out there. That is spectacular when you have one of those in full bloom. So again, just a little bit more height, maybe 2 feet tall is all, but nice, easy to grow, super drought tolerant, and an absolutely spectacular flower coming out on that here in the fall. We've got some nice ginger loves out there as well.
Do the bunnies eat your whole plant or just the plume?
Just prune it for me. That's what I like to say. Like, no, we're not going to get the bunny. We'll leave the bunny alone,
No,
but
we
he
got
can
too
just
many bunnies.
prune a little. Yeah, we have way too many roaming through ours too. Keep him out of the vegetable garden, but he can nibble on some grass. And the last one there is kind of funny because it's alphabetical, so I didn't do this on purpose, but I think I mentioned it a couple before class. This is probably my favorite plant in the property here for grasses. So this is Schizocarium, Schizocarium, you can call it whatever you want, but if you remember Standing Ovation, this just came out just a few years ago. I finally bucked up and bought one 2 years ago, put it in a new garden because I just like the color. It's real, but they call this little blue stem. So it's a little shorter. This is your miniature version of that, essentially. Big blue stem, little blue stem. So this is blue color, which I love all through the season. It's much more manageable in size. We're only talking about something 2-3 feet tall again. But the biggest thing with me is early color and an outstanding seed head. This is one that will start to do something in August and get better and better as we go through fall versus, not that these are bad, but some of these do their summer thing all the way till October, and then I get to see the color and the plumes come out. So really drought tolerant, really easy to grow. If you're going to try one, we just got a bunch more of these in because this has been popular with the customers as well. But this is Standing Ovation, the little blue stem grass. Yeah, really
Sun or
easy.
full sun?
Hot sun. You can do as much as you want. Mine is morning shade where I have mine planted. Sun comes across the house and it gets cooked the entire afternoon all the way till sundown.
Does that stay completely compact?
Compact and easy. This is the 3rd year on mine. Mine's honestly not a whole lot taller than that. I'm wider now, which is what I wanted, and I should have put 3 in after I did it. It was like I should have put 3 of those in there. I got 1, but eventually I'll probably end up with 2 more going in next to it.
Same haircut?
Same perennial, so same haircut. This is one, honestly, I've left alone because I think the seed stays nice and stiff in the winter. So I have not cut that back in my yard till the March time frame, these first 2 seasons. It's in a spot kind of up against a cedar fence, the back of a sun garden where I have mine. So again, I love the texture, the motion in the winter time. I could go out there Thanksgiving and do the same thing. It wouldn't matter. Yeah, you can cut it back either way. Yeah, this is one of good perennial style. So lastly, let me just show you a couple. We never really, I do summer perennial classes. We added a new evergreen perennial class I'll teach later this fall. Perennials are huge with gardeners right now. Everybody's interested in something that'll live for year after year and not get replaced all the time. So I'll add a little bit of fall. I brought a couple things up here, and I'm not going to show you. We'll show you what I brought in, but there's a lot out there that's still blooming and will continue to bloom through fall. I mean, if you've got coneflowers, rudbeckia, hyssop, I mean, I could list 1,000 things you can find in gardens. And if we deadhead a little bit and we've got happy plants, we've got bloom until frost on a lot of those repeat bloomers like that. So it's not just fall, but if I brought a couple things in specifically to me that shine more like in August, September, October, just for fall and don't start blooming earlier summer, here's a couple things I'd look at. One, you recognize the mums. I'm not going to talk about mums a whole bunch. The old Belgian mums, hybrid mums, call them whatever you want. Florist mums usually don't come back because they're grown a little bit differently. But if you get them out of nursery, you have good drainage is the key with those. If they get too wet in the winter, they're not going to come back for you next year. I'd almost treat it as an annual. I can tell you right now, I pinch mine, I feed them, I take care of them, anything I could, and I am never ever going to get a mum in my garden that has that many flower buds on it the next year. It's just not going to happen. So, for a, annual even, something I can tuck in a pot, add to a little spot by the door, something for this kind of fall harvest time. Mum's always a great choice. You can get any color you like, easy to grow. The rest of this stuff up here would be truly perennial. You know, stuff that's going to shine here in the fall, keep blooming, hard frost, kill it to the ground, see you again next year. You know, it's going to come back really easily. So if I look at a couple of asters, what was my terrible joke I used to tell? What did the toad lily, why did the toad lily go out with the mom? Because he asked her. It's terrible. My 7-year-old likes that one. But you got a couple, you know, lots of asters. You know, asters are just budding out right now. This is something just for this late summer, fall time. These are all perennial, easy to grow. Keep them in sun, don't tuck them in shade, and probably watch the mildew a little bit. If they get too wet or they're tucked in the garden and get surrounded, they need a little good air, some good sun will keep your asters happy. But we can get, you know, lavenders, whites, pinks, blues, purples, you know, a lot of colors in good hardy perennial asters. And you got some different ones. This is one of those star asters. It's got zillions of little white star flowers on it. That's a little taller one if you like a little different aster. Again, great perennial for fall. One thing for shade, who's got anemones? Anemones, you gotta say that one 10 times. So anemones are really easy to grow. They'll take a little bit, this thing's sopping wet. They'll take a little wet. This is one that will naturalize. We'll say that nicely. Anemones will grow everywhere. So if you pop anemones in, it's a great filler plant if you've got a shade or cottage garden, morning sun garden. Put a couple anemones in, let them bloom, let them drop some seed. You'll have anemones all through that garden here at some point, which is good for some. Not for me. I like a little OCD style, so this is one I try to, like, okay, if I'm going to do that, I either deadhead them so I don't get volunteers, or keep them really contained in an area and watch where the seeds pop up.
Will they grow well under an evergreen tree?
Evergreen tree's great. Yeah, I mean, it's a great, you can see, we have a bunch of these in our own gardens in the shade back there, and you can see where it's like, oh yeah, there's anemones. They're all over the place in here because they've been there for years, and I've naturalized that area. I can get singles, I can get doubles, we can get really short ones now. You can still get giant tall ones. There's a huge selection of anemones out there. And this really is a fall plant. You know, that's one that's just gonna start blooming here late summer, and I'm gonna have flower on that through the fall. This is always, I have a bunch of these in my yard. I love hot colors. I should call it Helenium or Helen's flower. Used to call it sneeze weed. It doesn't have allergies, so it's not really sneeze weed. It's not bad. This is a bee favorite. You know, these open up typically in July, and each flower will last 3 months.
What is that one?
This is called Helenium or sneeze weed. I might even have it on there, but write that one down. Which variety is this? This is Scarlet Summer Helenium. But you can get, again, tall, you know, chest level, and a little bit shorter ones now, which are nice. I use these along the border. I've got PG hydrangeas that are white and lime blooming. This is what's out in front of that, kind of in a little summer garden at my place. But really easy to grow. I mean, this is, again, drought tolerant. Don't have to do much to it. Walk out there once in the winter, cut it off at the ground level. You already see all the little green foliage that are sitting like a ground cover for next year. Just chop the whole stem out, put it in the yard waste. Up it comes again next year, and it's twice the size of plant. So I mean, I've got 3 clumps, and they eat up maybe a 3-4 foot circle, and I have a tall one where I have my 3. So really a fun plant. If you like yellows, oranges, and reds, take a look at some of those Helen's flower.
Is that more sun or shade?
Full sun, absolute full sun. This is, I used to call it river lily. I think some people call this Cape lily now. And you can see it's like, what's he showing me that for? It looks like an iris that's about done for the year. This hasn't done anything yet. This is a plant that starts to bloom in the fall, and the milder the winter, this is a plant I might have flowers on all the way through the holidays. So this is I used to call river lily or schizostylus. I think I put that one on the list, didn't I? Hopefully.
No.
If I didn't, write it on there, river lily or schizostylus. But you can get a few different colors. This particular one, I think starts in November. Yeah, this is November cheer. So this would start late in the fall. Looks like gladiola flowers, you know, big long stalks of pinks, different colors. Again, if we get a really hard early snow, you're done for the year. You know, it'll see you again next year. But if it's a mild winter, like it is a lot of times here into January, you're going to look out and see flowers on this all the way through the holidays. Yeah, much later on.
Sun?
Sun, I would say sun or part shade, and that one, Again, doesn't mind a little bit of wet as well, which may be a bonus for some people. You can grow that in a little bit wetter area and still be okay.
And is that like regular lilies that spread?
Not as bad as that. You know, the clump's going to get big every year, but it's not. That's not crazy invasive. Yeah, that's an easy one. This is a plant. Anyone seen that?
That's beautiful.
Macadamia. Yeah, that's a cool plant. So I purposely found this one. It was already starting to turn color here. So this looks like to me Japanese maple on the ground cover. If you get an old clump of this, I've got one in my shade. This is a shade plant again. In my shade garden, I get a big, wide, flat clump, and every week I get more and more red. They call this crimson fans. But that's got a nice little flower in the summer too, but for fall color, this is a beautiful perennial. This will go totally dormant, but I'm gonna really enjoy a nice fall display of some bright red color on Macadamia. You know, you've probably seen Berginias. Now we have Macadamia. We've got those two plants getting crossed in all kinds of fashion these days. So we'll have more of this through the fall and the winter, but this is a plant that will go dormant. The Berginias and things, different leaf style, but that one would be evergreen, which is the same red color.
You said shade?
Shade or morning sun's fine, but we don't want afternoon sun on those.
And do the bunnies like that one?
Bunnies will not eat that one. I don't think that. Well, they've been in my yard quite frequently, and they have not touched that one on mine.
But they won't take it down.
This is another, to me, a quintessential fall perennial. So this is plumbago. You got to be careful because sometimes if you ask for plumbago, you're going to get California style plant that does not grow up here. This is a hardy plumbago. The rest of those are zone 9. We grow those where we don't get frost. So this, I brought this one on purpose because you can see the leaves just starting to turn. So here, like when we get into late September, this will look like a burning bush, scarlet red with cobalt blue flowers on it. That's a really pretty plant for fall. So this is one that'll border, so I would stay low and spread nice and easily. So this is one I'd go along a nice sunny border, let it establish, make a beautiful little garden there as kind of an edge. Not ground cover really, it's not gonna grow that crazy. But if you like blue, full sun is great, or part sun's fine, but not too much shade. This is one here to get the combination of cobalt blue flower, red foliage, makes a nice presentation for fall. Then we've got Rudbeckias, black-eyed Susans, right? All kinds. This is American Gold Rush, I think the new one. Yeah. I got little Gold Star. I got old Goldstrom. I love black-eyed Susans. And this is again one just keeps going. You know, this started midsummer, and this is one we'll go all the way into the fall with as well. But I think if you like the bright color, I think that's a perfect little fall harvest plant, yeah, for perennial. Full sun and super drought tolerant. You'll see the tall one back here. So this is Joe Pye weed, yeah, or they call Eupatorium. Now I used to be stuck with Joe Pye weed. It would get that tall by the end of the summer. There's Little Joe. There's some nice little dwarfish ones now. But again, if I've got a little bit of wet, that's not a bad choice for a perennial. That one will take a little bit more moisture than some, and I can have that in full sun or part sun as well. Yeah.
On perennials, must we wait until they're totally dormant before we divide?
Yes, yeah, you want to wait, and that's really with all dividing and transplanting. I would try to avoid, you know, sometimes you got the contractor, I'm getting there next week, I'm tearing the deck off. Well, okay, I'm going to try to save this stuff, otherwise you're going to drive over it with his tractor. Okay, we're going to do something emergency, but if you can wait, you're always going to have near 100% success to me from Thanksgiving to the first part of March, cleaving stuff or transplanting something to a new area. Do it in the growing season, especially in the summer. It's gonna be much tougher. Yeah, much tougher. So last one is this cool little saxifrage, and you can't probably see if you go look at these on the table, you'll see the color underneath the leaves and on top. I have 3 of these. I'll be honest, I didn't think they were very hardy, so I planted them here first, and they lived. So I was like, oh sweet, I'll take them home. So we have them down in the garden there too. But this is fall. I mean, this is a plant that melts here like after Thanksgiving. I don't see it. It looks to dirt in the winter. I can't even see a crown on it. Comes up in the spring, stays super tight and short. But this has got electric pink flowers. They didn't even come out until October. So I look out my little sliding window in my shade garden off to the back of my place, and I see dark, you know, burgundy foliage little magenta kind of mixed in on the bottom with the hot pink flowers coming the fall.
What's it called?
Can you
So-
spell it for me?
So this is saxifrage, yeah. If you just like, there's a lot of saxifrages around. S-A-X-I, yeah, F-R-A-G-E. So there's Berry Bright and Pink Elf. This is Pink Elf. We have Berry Bright down there as well. This is a little softer pink. I got Berry Bright in my yard because I wanted like more of a magenta color on the flower. But again, it's just, I mean, I can walk by there for 6 months and it just sits there. It looks like that. Then all of a sudden you get to October and you're like, ah, here we go. And it does its thing in the fall.
I'm sorry, full sun or?
So this is Hinckley, yeah, which is typically, I love Dan Hinckley. He brings us some pretty cool plants, but a lot of his stuff is right on the hardy line, shall we say. So usually I see zone 7, zone 8. I'm like, I'll try it here first before I take my money on it. So I feel pretty good it's going to come back. I think I bought 3 of them. It's probably been 6 years now, and I've had no issue even last winter with mine coming back as well.
Shade, you said?
Total shade. This is a plant in my yard that receives 0 direct sunshine. This is up underneath witch hazel. I got epimedium in behind it, big rhododendron over here, and it just sits there and loves it with that deep dark shade. So that's saxifrage. All right, got plant overload.
Never.
I gotta say again, it's nice to you guys tune in when we were doing Zoomage. Get tired of listening to me on video because, man, it's getting really weird. Just, hi, everybody, talking to your laptop. It's nice to see smiling faces around here. So, with all the classes, you guys want to do some shopping today. We make this really easy because I'm not going to spend 5 hours programming our computer for just grasses. So, grasses are part of our perennial code. So, I'll tell you, you go out and shop today, you got 20% off all your perennials and grasses. So, look at it, doesn't matter if it's out there in the perennial yard. Sun is right out here, shades up underneath that roof, but it could be grasses, it could be heucheras, it could be anything on that perennial area. You're going to get 20% off at the register. So that starts today. You got till next Friday. So if you go home with 3 and you're like, darn it, I should have bought 5, come back and get 2 more. I'll be home next weekend for Labor Day. My wife's a teacher, so we're going to spend one last weekend here before the death of the school year starts. But I'm back the week after Labor Day, so we got 2 classes, and they're both big ones for us for fall. So the 10th, September 10th, is fall container class. So we'll be back in the classroom, but I'll be planting some pots. I'll probably bring one of mine in from home to kind of show you how I rejuvenate mine, swap from summer to fall. And we'll be talking everything thriller, filler, and spiller. If you've been to container class before, there's a lot of options for growing stuff in pots. So we'll really focus on really cool things that'll last through the winter and be interesting. And then another one of my favorites, I'm the OCD lawn guy. So Sunday is fall lawn care class. So whether you kept yours green like mine or you let it turn brown, we can give you some tips on kind of getting the lawn back in shape here as we get into fall. So always a March, April, September, October. Those are the 2 times a year to worry about the grass. If you do it right, you'll be like me and have really nice looking grass all summer that you don't have to mess with a whole bunch. Just mow it, water a little bit, and everybody's happy. And lawn is not the end of the world. Everybody always getting the lawn is bad. It's like, no, it's not necessarily. Yes.
A Sunday meeting tomorrow or Sunday?
2 weeks. So the 10th and the 11th. Yeah, the 2. And the same thing. If you can't make it, we're recording them. It's usually just a day or 2, and we'll have them posted up on our website, YouTube video. The handouts are always on there as well. Okay. So again, I get to say, there's Dr. Lola. Thanks, Dr. Lola.